Hi guys, my name is T. Welcome to my channel, Mr. T Games. Let us all agree that Mavuika is a super cool character. I especially love her fiery hair animation, which looks like the love child of Dragon Balls and Ghost Rider. And she even has a flaming motorbike. Like many of you, I saved up all of my precious pulls so I can get her, and that means skipping her supposedly best teammate, Xilonen. However, I was able to secure both Mavuika's as well as Citlali's constellation too. So in this video, we will find out how well this vertically invested duo melts the competition. I will switch between an attack percent and elemental mastery sands to see which is better for our melt Mavuika. We will also compare the Wolf's Gravestone at a mid-level refinement, R3 in this case, with Mavuika's signature weapon, 1000 Blazing Suns. Throughout this video, I will use Kazuha, True Pyro Archon Bennett, and finally Sucrose, as they are currently the team with the highest damage ceiling that I have. Mavuika is at C2 with either her R1 signature weapon or R3 Wolf's Gravestone with somewhat decent artifacts. Citlali is also at C2 with R5 Thrilling Tales of Dragons. Her elemental mastery is 800. As a quick reminder, Mavuika's C1 gives more fighting spirit and more damage, and her C2 gives a huge bump of damage. Both Citlali's C1 and C2 gives more damage to her party members, with C2 giving a giant bump. Kazuha has 957 elemental mastery with an R1 Sipho's Moonlight and is at C0. Sucrose has 897 elemental mastery and is holding an R5 Sacrificial Fragment. And finally Bennett has 864 base attack with R1 Aquila Favonia. Alright, let's grab a cup of tea and begin. We'll start with Mavuika, Kazuha, Citlali, and Bennett.
Light it up! Let's light it up! Teamwork is The wind knows me. Fulfill our pact!
In this run, I'm using the attack percent sands, which yields a huge 1,420,363 damage.
Rise with us! Teamwork is true!
In the next run, where I switched to the elemental mastery sands, the nuke damage was even bigger at 1,536,232. As expected, since a higher elemental mastery leads to a bigger melt multiplier given a large enough attack stat on Mavuika. Can Mavuika's signature weapon beat this number? First we go back to the attack percent sands just to have another data point. Yet again, her nuke scored an amazing 1,614,144 in damage. Finally, we will do this domain one last time with the elemental mastery sands.
The wind knows me. Show no mercy.
And you guessed it, the number is again higher at 1,728,670. So, with the highest consistent damage of over 1.7 million, the outcome of this experiment is that 1,000 Blazing Suns, even at refinement 1, is definitely better than a well-refined Wolf's Gravestone, at least at refinement level 3. However, the 200k difference is only within 13% of her comically huge damage number. So if you prefer the look of Wolf's Gravestone on Mavuika, then you can save quite a few primo gems. At this point, I was wondering if we can increase the damage even further beyond with more EM, so I replaced Kazuha with Sucrose and did one more run. However, I ran into a very weird behavior here, leading to, well, inconclusive results. The problem with Sucrose in this team is consistency, as her elemental burst applies pyro again onto the enemy and can very easily steal the melt from Mavuika. After some experimentation, I figured out a solution to somewhat reliably trigger melt in this specific domain, by first doing Sucrose's burst on one enemy, then quickly do the rest of the rotation on another, thus avoiding Sucrose's infusion circle. But even with this strategy, the damage that I got is confusingly somewhat random. For example, in this run, I got 1.49 million. In another one, I got 1.46. And yet in another one, I got 1.57. What's super weird is that in one of these runs, I got an outstanding 1.9, almost 2 million.
Absorption test. Animal test 6308. Animal hypostasis. Fulfill our pact. Xilonen. Ipaka. Wrath from the sky.
I have absolutely no idea what could cause these wild variations with this team. So if you know why this happens, please let me know in the comment section. Speaking of consistency, I actually didn't pull for Citlali's signature weapon, despite the amazing 28% damage increase that it gives, since I prefer using Sacrificial Fragment on her. With this 4-star catalyst at Refinement 5, we can reliably have 2 uses of her skill, which is enough to trigger its Papa Opal Fire state. This, together with her burst, allows for higher availability of her Cryo applying state, while giving a stronger shield due to the Elemental Mastery substat and reducing her energy requirements. With that, we arrive at the final state for a maximum comfort team. It's true that we're missing the 48% attack bonus from Thrilling Tales of Dragons, bringing Mavuika's nuke damage down to 1.54 million, but we get a stronger shield in return, less energy requirement, and a bit better cryo application. Having said that, you should be careful when setting up your rotations. Remember that her E skill has ICD, so if the enemy has a pyro aura, you need to cast her burst to apply a cryo aura onto the enemy. As you can see in this Abyss 12 run, I was able to trigger melt on the first rotation, but in the following rotation, Citlali's second E cast did not take over the pyro aura due to the ICD.
Burn it down. Teamwork is dreamwork. The wind knows me. Fulfill our pact. Get to work. Pyroclastic surge.
In other words, you should always make sure that the enemy is having the cryo aura when casting Mavuika's burst to maximize your damage. But in some situations, such as when the enemy is infused with an element which cannot have a cryo aura, there is nothing you can do. What about fighting spirit generation? In my experience, with Mavuika's Constellation 1 and Citlali as her teammate, this is not a problem. As long as we start the rotation with Mavuika's tap E, she will generally be able to burst with maximum power when her turn arrives. Of course, it would be much quicker with Xilonen, but it's nice to know that she is not required.
You two! Time to end Wrath from the sky!
Outside in the overworld, I prefer using a more comfortable healer in place of Bennett, such as Furina, as Mavuika and Citlali's melt damage would still be big enough to destroy anything in their path. Mavuika and Citlali both at Constellation 2 is one of, if not the best addition I have ever had. Even without Xilonen, this pair is an absolute powerhouse, provided that you have Bennett and Kazuha to go with them, or Sucrose if you are a better player than me, which you likely are. They are fun to use, power creeps every other character in terms of exploration, and they can pull off huge damage numbers so effortlessly and reliably. If you'd ever ask, I would tell you that I didn't regret skipping Xilonen at all, even though I will probably still get her in the future. And with that, we have come to the end of the video. I hope this video was helpful and entertaining to you. Remember to stay positive, have your daily cup of tea, and I'll see you in the next video.